everyone, and welcome to my presentation. I'm Valerie Ribao, and I'm presenting my doctoral thesis, which is titled Blue Space, Designing Active Communities for Hawaii's Kupuna. For those who may not know, Kupuna is translated in Hawaiian and referred to an older adult or grandparent. So starting off with the organization of my thesis, in which is divided into two parts. The first half is discussing a brief of my research to the problem and discussing what blue space is. The second half is dedicated to the approach of my site, the design principles, and how the design principles are applied to my design. My focus is taken back home here on Oahu, so I thought I would show the census tract of those 65 years and older. By looking at the percentages, many older adults are within the city side of the island, as marked in red in the map, compared to the other parts of the island. One of the factors is that there are many amenities that are provided in the city of Honolulu, such as convenience of hospitals, healthcare services, and the proximity of the kupuna homes. As shown on the table, these percentages were projected through 2010 through 2040, and I wanted to compare the growth of Hawaii's older adults compared to the US as a whole, and how much higher it would still be in the next 10 to 30 years from now. That Hawaii state residents aged 60 and over made up 20.6% compared to the US. The same goes for kupuna, who are 85 years and older. As seen on the graph, and by looking at the table to get a more accurate sense of statistics, the number of older adults ages 65 years and older is higher than the national average and will be continuously growing throughout the year. The numbers do matter to keep in mind the number of kupuna we should consider and how it will affect our built environment and how these individuals will navigate around the community. The positive side of Hawaii's kupuna is that through research, the state has the highest life expectancy of ages 65 years and older of 17.3 years compared to the national rate at 12.9 years. Though among kupuna, they are facing difficulties in their everyday lives, specifically those with a disability such as hearing, vision, or their physical mobility. In fact, 87% of the older adult population have one or more chronic condition, and about 38% of them have reported to have poor physical and mental well-being. Most kupuna would stay at home, live in a care home that is more institutionalized, or other health care service. Though spaces within the building, such as recreational spaces or outdoor areas, are limited. We have to note that each kupuna have different interests, though there are some activities that they may not have the energy for. The goal of this thesis is to break this gap between the kupuna and the community. And in order to break that, an element that can help bridge these two together is through the factor of water environments, or as I call in this thesis, blue space. So what is blue space? Blue space is a term that refers to areas that harness natural bodies of water, such as watersheds, ponds, lakes, or oceans. Blue space is used in environment policy and management as nature-based design solutions, which are instruments inspired by nature to enhance ecosystem services and multiple health benefits. In the context of this thesis, blue space is focused on the development of infrastructure near blue space, such as waterfronts, walkways, and making these areas age-friendly. Blue space is a similar concept to green space, in which people refer to as grassy parks. For blue space, these are a few examples as I mentioned earlier. Water has different purposes that gives that one-to-one interaction with individuals. Water is seen as a celebration element. For example, the Japanese people would celebrate a water festival called Uchimizu, which means throwing water. It is practiced to reduce urban heat island effect. The water is recycled and thrown on the streets. It is said by the Japanese officials that on this day, the temperature dropped 10 degrees Celsius. In the Japanese culture, water is also used as a purification method before going into the temple. Water is a meditative element. as it is part of the overall criteria in feng shui. For example, companies or businesses who do practice feng shui might have a water element outside their office, which represents a company will be prosperous in the future. These are a few case studies that show the relationship with the building, land, and water. This is a stream in South Korea, which is redeveloped. It actually used to have a large freeway, as you see on the bottom left picture, but it opened to the public for events that showcased historical elements. Another case study is the Kamo River in Japan. In the river, it brings a unique experience for individuals such as the yucca decks and showcasing events. For example, light show projection, firework events, or displays of cherry blossom festivals. Moving on to the design. Outlined in the teal box is my focus area. This map shows the future conditions when sea level rise strikes the south shore of Hawaii at 6 feet. This condition may occur 50 years from now. I think this is important to consider when designing for the kapuna to think about the circulation. One of the reasons why I chose this site is that throughout the sites I've observed, the Kapalama watershed had a significant amount of senior care services in proximity to the Nu'uanu stream. Also, it is one of the locations with a high density of those who are 65 years and older. A zoom in of the site is that I've noticed that there is a lack of ADA applied areas such as no curb cuts, worn out tactile pavements and crosswalks, multiple trip and fall hazards. As for the water, there was a lot of trash or metals randomly dumped into the stream, which actually damages the health of the stream. The positives of the site is the connection of the building and views of the water. Many kapuna, as I observe, love to gather near the water. Through the Nu'uanu stream, there are various landmarks, which are key elements to enhance the design of these areas. This could be a good indicator for kapuna to easily orientate themselves. In this map, I've diagrammed the horizontal axis, which are moments where bridges are placed, restrictions that are not accessible to pedestrians, and in blue arrows, the nice views are represented. This axonometric layers the available green space within the area, and it helped me visualize how the space is and how to direct people to the water. This is a model of the principles, creating blue recreational spaces for the kapuna. This model showcases my 3 core principles needed for my design, which is mental stimulation, physical benefit, and community strengthening. In each principle, these components are essential to consider in design to create a safe and age-friendly environment, which touch on fluid components, which is blue space, soft surface components, and hard surface components. So these are examples of these components. Fluid, as I mentioned, are rivers, lakes, ponds, and so on. Soft surface components is referred to greenery. Hard surface components are building elements, pathways, and industrial elements such as seating. The problem that kapuna may face is being stuck in a single space for a long period of time, while not being able to exercise their minds. The design of physical spaces can provide a therapeutic benefit for the kapuna with cognitive limitation. Next, the design of physical spaces can encourage physical activities. These components are to help the kapuna with their mobility as they go out of their homes and enjoy the leisure time in the outdoor environment. The design of physical spaces can encourage community engagement. That way, kapuna can comfortably enjoy their leisure time and not be deprived from cultural events going on around them. This principle combines both the benefits of the mental stimulation principle and physical benefit for the kapuna. This is an overall chart to easily navigate where each principle and components match. This is an example of how these principles are applied within the site. I will show a couple diagrams and renderings to show different scenarios since A'ala Park, Foster Garden, and Liliuokalani have different land use areas. First is the A'ala Park area. This shows the different elevations of community engagement. There are higher wooden lookout areas for kapuna who want to just look over activities. The lookout areas are protruding as a way for an individual to easily distinguish their location. For example, knowing where Mauka or Makai is. And the lower levels are examples of the physical and mental benefit principle. By having designated areas of having cultural celebration and a soft surface area for picnic areas that look out the water. The next is a foster garden area. I propose a conceptual idea to redesign the stream. As you can see, the stream is in a curved shape compared to its straight flow from before. The reason is that adjusting the shape helps reduce the velocity, the speed of the stream when heavy rainflow occurs. Having a curved stream benefits what is on the landforms too, since it gives the opportunity to give a curved, meandering path that Kupuna enjoys strolling through. The lower protruding areas are spaces for people to observe the important function of wetlands, which help mitigate floodwaters. Here are also elements such as an added rock pattern to increase the water sounds and block out noise. This is a section cut of the area. The higher deck has various purposes as mentioned, and another one of the functions is that it's a future community pocket. For example, if water level rises in the next 30 to 50 years. If water level rises, I was thinking about the function of the building and how the building would respond to water. When rainfall occurs, I wanted to diagram a system of rainwater collection collected by roof to a tank and into a water treatment tank before it is directed to water the plants. In the building, it is programmed for the Kupuna to spend their leisure time to grow their own fruits, vegetables, or meet up with a friend. This area is located right next to the Foster Garden area. This showcases a conceptual idea for Foster Botanical Garden in which the garden itself showcases native land plants. Proposed is an idea to extend the garden to educate individuals that live nearby or open another opportunity for those who are nearby, such as Bright Star Care or Salvation Army Adult Day Health Care, to learn about native plants that live on water. The public can learn more about the proposed wetland system, the importance of the watershed's health, and so on. Lastly is the Liliokalani Garden. It is a more serene area, so I was thinking of having specific areas for low-impact activities, such as strolling, tai chi, or having areas for lookouts for Kupunas with their families to chat or relax. So this concludes my presentation. I hope you all stay safe and stay healthy. I hope that you learned something and I hope you got something out of it. And thank you for listening.